Hey everyone, so in this video we're going to cover the concept of parallel or competing arrays. So the purpose of this is that in this introductory period where we lack any kind of data structure concept, sometimes we have to store referential information about one piece of data that has associated extra data members. So in this example we're going to do the number of days in a month. So we're going to have to create two arrays, one that stores the month name so that we can find the correct index, and then another array which stores the actual value for the number of days in that month. So we know the number of months, so we should have a constant int, all caps because it's a constant. So we're going to have 12. Now we're not going to fill the whole array, we're just going to fill part of it, because I think you'll get the idea. So the our first array will be a string array where we keep the month names in it. So we'll call that months. And, ooh, too much stuff. And we'll set that to our size. Our second array will store the number of days in the month. And that will become an integer pointer so that we can initialize a new integer array here. And that will also be of size. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the index of January, for example, which is 0, to match the 0 index of max days, which will be the number 31. So we're going to handcraft that data now. So we'll use the subscript notation. And then we'll set max days sub 0, the same index, equal to 31. We'll have to do this a couple of times. And we're on a leap year. So we'll speed this up a touch by just copying and pasting a couple more. March, which also has 31, and this will be subscript 2. And then April, one of our 30 length months. And then we'll probably go up to, May. Which is also 31 days. So nothing too tricky here, just populating the first 5 elements of the 12 element array. We don't actually need to fill the whole thing because we'll kind of work through this. Now I want you to notice that I'm going to use the argument list as how I'm going to keep track of the user input, because that's usually a really good way to get user input. So let's go ahead and figure out which month the user would like to capture or receive the information about the number of days in it. So we'll create a string variable, call it user selection, and that will equal the static cast standard string, too many D's, of arg v1, which is our first argument, because argument v0 is always the execution path of our script. So it'll give us a nice string, which will be January, February, March, April, as the user will input. Now we're going to have to search our months array, something that matches the user selection, so we can get the index to give them the number of days. Let's see how that works. So because we have arrays, we're going to use a for loop because they're best buddies. Doesn't mean this is the only way to do it. It's just, I think, the most direct and obvious way. So we're going to go over the entire size, incrementing our counter as we go. So if user selection, and because we're using standard strings and not C strings, we're able to use the equality operators as opposed to string compare functions. So months at subscript I. So if the current month we're looking at, January, matches the user selection, then we'll do something. So we need to capture that index. And that index is I. We'll call this something like selected month index equals I. I haven't declared this yet, because we got to think about where we're going to declare it. If I declare it here, it will only live inside the bounds of this for loop. We won't be able to access it to make any decisions later. So we should hoist that and bring that definition up here. Now, we'll have access to it below our for loop as well. So we can make some decision for the output. So we should have an int to store our answer. Number of days equals, now instead of using the months array, we're going to use the max days array at the index we were able to locate from our for loop. So if this was January, we'll have index 0, we'll look up in the other array index 0, we'll get 31. Give ourselves a little cout so we can verify it. So the number of days in user selection is number of days. And then we'll end line. Let's take a look and see what we did here. So we have some data in our two competing or parallel arrays. They're the same size, but they're different types. So different types of data. We capture from argv1 the user selection. We then create a variable to store what the selected index based on doing a search. So it's a linear search through our array. It will always touch every element. We're not going to escape from this loop early. And if in the case we don't actually find the thing, we're probably going to generate an error because we won't have an index I. We never initialized this variable, which means when we try to use the subscript of it later, we're probably going to have a problem. Let's not worry about that yet. So let's make sure it builds. Everything's good. So now let's populate that argv1. So we'll go into our build configuration and we'll say January and hit OK. Now when we run this, we should see some useful output. The number of days in January is 31. Let's go test another value. Let's test April. And the number of days in April is 30. So when it searched our array, our months array, it found April, which was index 3. It then used that to calculate or extract the value 30 from the max days array. And so our parallel arrays were able to allow us to share context and expand the amount of data. Now soon we'll learn another way around this, which will make this even easier. But for now, this is one of the ways that we can store multiple pieces of information in context with each other using multiple arrays. Hope this helps.